first and only time this happened, because even though everything went smoothly, when I put the files into the editing software, the screen was black in it went black a few times for a few minutes. I think it happened like twice or 3 times, which normally doesn't happen. I still use the camera till this day. So I hope that today's video will not be disturbed again like last time. But anyways, let's begin. So when I was in elementary school, my friends and I, we believed that there are demons out there and that we have magical powers. We're starting off strong with this story time, okay? Just take it at face value, okay? And we watched the show Charmed, so that's where pretty much all of the inspiration came from. We also had our own book of shadows. It was this whole thing, and we believe that there are demons out there that are trying to get us sometimes. So there I can't stop laughing. Okay, I have to calm down. Okay, so in the elementary school, in the building, there were toilets near the dining hall that we believed are occupied by demons or by some other entities. And I think the reason why we believed that was that there was never any sunlight, so the room in itself was really dark. There were only really tiny windows outside, so there was just not a lot of sunlight. Overall, there was some blue, I think there was blue paint on the walls, so it just seemed really cold. And I think a couple of times we have seen blood on the walls. Now, I have no idea how it got there, honestly, but it's pretty disgusting, isn't it? Right? Of course it was cleaned later on, but sometimes it would appear again and we would just inspect it. And after we have inspected the blood like twice, I don't know, at like different instances, we just decided that these toilets are cursed and they're occupied by demons and we will not go there. But once my friend was sick, or I don't remember exactly, I think she was just not feeling well, and so we didn't have time to go across the building to different toilets, so we went to this toilet. Now, I am a bit of a scaredy cat, okay? I got better with age, but at the time I refused to go inside these toilets. I was just like, I don't want to do this, okay? And my friend was like, oh, it's gonna be fine. Like, I think at that point she was still a bit skeptical. We were roughly like 7 or 8, okay, at that point in time. And she said, oh, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And I was just like, no, I'm not going into these toilets. I refuse to go with you. Nah, I'm not doing that. And so she went in, I waited outside, and the door was closed. And once she tried to go outside, she got trapped because the door couldn't be open. Like, it was as if there was super glue on the door. Like, no matter what we did, she just whose parents had to work. They couldn't stay at home with them, and it was kind of like babysitting if you think about it. And I willingly wanted to go into this camp. I'm actually not a camping girl. It's not for me. I later on, this is a random story, but I actually stayed at a camp a few years later after that, where we slept and we had to go outside at night to the woods. And no, I'm a scaredy cat, okay? I don't like it. I don't like being in the forest at night, okay? But back to the story. So there was a couple of popular girls, and they were a few years older than me. They were like the cool girls, okay? And they thought it would be super funny to summon demons. Again, demons in the toilets. It's like the history had to repeat itself, didn't it? I can't. was just like, I'll just go into these cursed toilets. And as I was changing, guess what? I started to hear footsteps too. And they were getting like closer and closer and closer. So I quickly changed. I ran out. Of course, I didn't see anybody. Ran out of the toilet. I ran into the camp that was like 100 to 200 meters away from these toilets. And I went to these girls. I was just like, I heard footsteps too. I heard footsteps too. And they were like, wow. And that's it. I guess the entity or whatever occupied the toilets until they destroyed the place. I don't know. Just that's, of course, I was really small, really young, and I probably was paranoid, and I could have just made it up in my mind, you know, just there's a possibility, right? Okay. Then, a few years later, summoning ghosts was really popular, and my friend wanted to summon the ghost of the one and only legend, Michael Jackson. Now, at this point, I was pretty traumatized with my experiences, and I was like, I'm not doing this, no. But she convinced me to summon the ghost of Michael Jackson in my home. Well, I decided that I will sabotage the whole thing. I was not participating in this. So I screwed up on purpose. I was laughing. I was on purpose. I was messing up just so the ritual or whatever would not be completed. I don't know. I think we looked up on the internet how to do this stuff. Just don't do this stuff. Don't be like 15-year-old me. I was 15 years old at this point. And nothing happened after the ritual that I was messing up on purpose, so I was like, okay, good. We're good. For 2 weeks after that, I was again hearing footsteps at night in my own bed. To be fair, I was scared of the dark as a child, and this experience kind of reminded me of that. Of course, nobody was walking around. Sometimes I would just get up and check to see if people were walking around my bedroom. There was no one there. Didn't see anybody. And after 2 weeks, I think I just tried to unsummon the ghost or whatever. I don't even know if it was Michael Jackson, to be honest, or if it was any ghost. Who knows? I could have just made it up in my mind because I was scared. There's a big possibility that happened. Last story. This is quite recent, not even 2 years ago, and this is by far probably the most chilling experience that I had, and that was when I was just brushing my teeth around, I think 2:45 at night. I was going to bed really late for no reason. I just stayed up late, and I still remember this vividly. I was listening to music, was brushing my teeth. I went to bed. I was just lying in bed, maybe reading something or just being on my phone, and nothing nothing was out of the ordinary until I turned off the light and I saw a dark figure standing by the window, and I freaked out. it's a nightmare and not real. I freaked out. I was scared. I think I stayed up until like 5 a.m. because I was just, I couldn't fall asleep. It was the strangest thing. And a couple of days later, I've learned that either on that day or around that time, my grandmother passed away. And I don't want to go into much detail. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in my Patreon video in October. It will be the first video. But I kind of believe this was her last prank, her last aha moment, maybe. Scaring me to death. And I have no explanation. It never happened before and it never happened since, so it was really strange because I even saw like, you know, hands and like everything. And normally I don't, like I said, I don't get sleep paralysis. I don't see stuff at night, so I don't know. Well, on that note, I'm going to end this video. Happy October, everybody. I will have more spooky videos coming up, at least one more. I will not probably focus on spooky stuff the entire October, because I know not everybody is into that, so just stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And stay safe, guys, and don't summon demons. Okay. So, bye bye.